Welcome back to Free Media. I'm Amber Duke.
And I'm Robby Soave. Well, Bernie Sanders went on Andrew Schulz's Flagrant podcast and agreed the Democrats are also a threat to democracy. Watch this.
The Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy. But from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
I donated for you. I wanted you to, like, 2016, I was like, this is going to happen. This guy's going to do it. And it felt like they stole it from me. And I'll be honest, it broke my heart when you supported him.
Look, but you have, in the world that I live in, you got a choice. And I mean, a lot of people, including my wife, agree with you. But, you know, you're down to a choice. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton or is it going to be Donald Trump? Not a great choice.
But it ended up being him anyway, so why don't we burn it down?
Well, because it's easy to say burning it down means that children are not going to have, you know, food to eat, that the schools will deteriorate, people will not have health care.
I got it.
And I'm an elected official. I got to represent the people.
That's fair.
And I can't turn my back on.
But then could we not also say, if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear.
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
Based Bernie calling out those Democrats.
Amazing, yeah. And he was like, well, that's why I'm an independent. But it's like, okay, you caucus with the Democrats. Relax, Bernie. But
And he clearly does not like the Republicans better.
Yeah, but I think Andrew Schulz raised a really good point, which is that Bernie was constantly pushed to the side by the Democrats and had the system rigged against him, whether it was in the 2016 primary with Hillary Clinton. Then in 2020, he was urged to drop out and endorse Joe Biden. Then he didn't say a whole lot about the DNC just installing Kamala as the replacement for Joe. So he gets screwed by the Democrats, endorses Hillary, gets screwed again, drops out, endorses Joe Biden, gets screwed again, endorses Kamala Harris. Like, this is your hero, progressives. Like, this guy just folds at the slightest change in the wind. It's kind of sad.
I mean, they treated him really badly in 2016, and the media was just as bad as the Democratic Party, saying, oh, his supporters are so sexist and racist, and whatever. They were
the Bernie bro problem. That was absurd.
Scandal. And I do think in 2016 there's a good chance that Bernie Sanders would have won if he was the candidate, because he did better than Hillary in Michigan and Pennsylvania specifically. He won the Michigan primary. Clearly the voters, the Democratic or independent-leaning voters that Trump picked up in those two states which decided the election, Bernie Sanders would have done much better with, and we're talking about just a couple thousand votes. So I think he very well could have won in 2016. The Bernie people are also really upset about how he got treated in 2020. Honestly, in 2020, yeah, everybody else dropped out and coalesced around Joe Biden, but I mean, that's politics. That happens. It's not, that wasn't as much to me a rigging as, like, there was some
it wasn't
Hillary
as much
getting the questions right, and there was some real malfeasance in 2016. In 2020, yeah, they all dropped out optimally to stop him, but you know, they do get to do that.
Yeah,
I would hate Elizabeth Warren if I was him, and I also hate Elizabeth Warren as me, but...
Yeah, I mean, 2020 wasn't so much a rigging as, like, he's supposed to be this outsider candidate who's challenging the Democratic National Committee and the institutions, and so for him to go along with their strategy for beating Trump, I have to imagine was disappointing for the progressives.
He is also, and did so in this interview, rails against a kind of identity politics where he talks about that it's not enough to just celebrate someone because of some racial or gender or sexual characteristic, and that the Democratic strategy of just catering to that has not really worked. And, you know, he always brings it back to class politics, which is like, you probably feel this way too. I agree with him on his criticism of identity politics and wokeness, but then I also just don't. I also don't agree with the economic agenda that he presents for the working class by a large extent. So it's not like I prefer those policies, but you know, he's an honest representative of them and thinks they're good, and he's been saying the same thing for 50 years. And
to an extent, though, I mean, he is kind of a phony because he also used to agree with Donald Trump on a populist immigration agenda and talking about how the influx of cheap illegal labor can crowd out American workers.
He said that was a Koch brothers plot.
Yes, and now he's like,
which,
no,
we
no,
did
let
not
them
like
all
him for at
in,
all.
let them all in. So, I mean, yes, to an extent, he's
Yeah.
been like the populist progressive guy for a long time, but he also very much sees where cultural pushback from the Democrats is on some of these proposals and will change and is malleable in response to those.
Yeah. And in either case, I think he's certainly done at running for president. He said so, I believe, in the interview that he's not going to be the leader of the progressive or the left faction for all that much longer.
He also rejected the idea that bringing AOC along on the oligarchy tour is pulling her up as his successor.
Well, I think he was trying to say that he doesn't get to pick a successor. His viewpoint is democracy, blah, blah, blah. So if he's presenting her and if the people choose her as his successor intellectually, then she'll be the successor. I still think he very much thinks that she's the successor.
Maybe. I thought it was interesting, though, that he didn't give her this like really full-throated endorsement of like, yes, this is the best person to carry on my legacy.
I think I don't know. I could be mind reading him. I think he does think that, but he just, for whatever reason, didn't want to say it. Maybe he was distracted, as I am, by Andrew Schulz's mustache every time we play his clips. Thanks for watching Free Media. We'll have more for you right after this.